ShinRobjira.
The big bad from the Galidor franchise, Gorm is hellbent on stealing the remaining glitch energy held within series hero Nick Bluetooth's body, so he may complete his conquest of all the realms of the outer dimension. So we have standard release Gorm, and we have deluxe release Gorm. As far as I am aware, this particular getup for Gorm wasn't in the show. Neither was this, the grasping hand. This is what we normally saw within the show. I'm guessing this was solely created just to be a toy, so yeah, there we go. Let's take a look at standard Gorm first. Now, standard Gorm goo essentially only comes with this as an accessory. I mean, granted, the whole thing is an accessory, but this is the grasping hand. And since I had only seen a fair amount of Galidor episodes as a kid, I didn't know if this actually appeared within the show. But recently I found out that this here grasping hand was just something brought over from the concept art stages. They had Gorm in a pose where he was kind of just reaching out, and the hand really didn't differ from the standardized hand that was already in the concept art. So when they went ahead and made him a Lego set, they just included this as a little bonus. So no, this essential hand does not appear in the show from what I've read and heard. But personally, this is the only way to show off standard Gorm. Just take that arm off because we don't need it. Give him the grasping hand, and this is how standard Gorm should always be shown off. Big Omega Fap Hand. Now, when it comes to paint and detail, everything on this guy is kind of basic. We're going to get the obvious design on the chest over here and on his little crotch shield. We're going to get purple near the arms over here, and we're going to get purple on his midriff over here as well. This is actually painted. I don't believe these are actually painted. I think they're actually just separate pieces molded in a different plastic. But for the most part, I think we can expect that most of these figures won't have the craziest of paint applications. And you know what? It totally just works for them. These things really didn't need too much to be eye-catching and colorful, because since it was made by Lego, most things would just be molded in a different color. Now, when it comes to Gorm's little bionic eye over here, I do believe this is painted. You can kind of see a portion of it not fully painted over here, but the paint application of the bionic eye is rather nice. And then moving on over here to his standard eye, it's green with a dark pupil in there. The detail around the eyes is nice, and the paint on this eye is pretty nice too. Detail-wise, Gorm definitely has a lot more going on than Nick and Allegra. We've got all these crazy shapes on his head and on his neck and on this area for the arms. Really digging the design of his very alien looking armor over here. I'm a sucker for pointy shoulders. Don't ask why, I just am. And then we're going to have some major detail towards the shins and feet areas. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but still rather cool looking. Oh, and on the back of his crotch shield, he's going to have details as well. We're going to get some minor detailing on the biceps and on the forearms. The hands are indeed going to show 3 fingers as well as a little thumb over here, and I believe that is mostly accurate to the show, and there is going to be some detail on the inside of the hand as well. The grasping hand over here is obviously going to be a lot more detailed with this big gaping hand that Gorm has over here. Fingers, knuckles, fingernails. Very interesting little designs going on the fingers over here, almost making it look biomechanical to an extent. It just looks like a very strong hand. And then on the inside of the hand, we can see some musculatures and everything, and you can see that this material is starting to kind of whiten over time. Since this is somewhat of a rubbery feeling material, I guess that's just something that's going to happen with this. If anybody knows how to further prevent this, please let me know. And then clearly the design for the grasping hand forearm is going to be different from a standard forearm, as shown here for comparison. There is some details going on the inside of Gorm's little mouth over here. In the show, it was kind of one of those speaking intercom things that would just light up in the mouth whenever he talked. There really wasn't anything there. But when it comes to an overall rating for standard Gorm over here, I think I'm going to give him a solid star in terms of paint and detail. Now, when it comes to deluxe Gorm over here, obviously there's going to be some paint differences, and there's going to be a difference in terms of accessories. Let's just go over the paint differences first. Obviously, we're going to get a different design on the crotch shield and on the chest over here, looking a little bit more lizardy than standard Gorm. The head is also going to have the same design that the armor has on the chest and crotch shield. We're going to get the same bionic and organic eye, but these 3 little pieces over here are actually going to be purple this time instead of just black. And as far as differing colors go, that's pretty much it for Gorm, and I'm going to give him a solid star in terms of paint, just because I'm a sucker for added paint, and I just feel these should have always been purple. Now, when it comes to alternate pieces, Gorm is going to get the Bogue Launcher, I do believe this is called. It comes with 2 launchable pieces. And this was one of the major selling points for the Deluxe Edition figures, because aside from an obviously different paint job, you would get different pieces to add to it. And yes, just like Nick's little turbine wings, these can shoot. There we go. Defeated him. Now, much like the grasping hand, these little Bogue missile launchers, as you can see, they look a little insectoid over here. They are of that same rubber, a bit thinner, and they are starting to whiten pretty badly. But just the fact that they have these cool little faces and details on them and such, it's honestly really nice. I dig these quite a lot. And what's really cool is you can put the Bogue missiles on Gorm's back, and you can kind of recreate one of the concept art pieces that had Gorm with like tendrils coming out of his back. And it's just nice that you could actually have weapon storage for something like this. In fact, when it comes to Gorm, you can actually store his spare arm right on his back. Or, to be frank, right on his ass. Just like that. That way, no spare pieces are left behind. And that's pretty much it when it comes to Deluxe Gorm over here. Aside from the different designs and paint that I showed off earlier, and the differing accessory, he's pretty much exactly the same as standard Gorm. So, yeah. Now, before I go ahead and talk about Articulation, there's another figure of Gorm that I have to talk about, and that's essentially going to kick off the Articulation portion, so stick with me. As discussed in the first video, there was indeed a McDonald's tie-in with Galidor, and this is one of the figures you would get. I'm not sure if I got this or if a friend gave it to me. I really don't remember going to McDonald's during the Galidor craze, but they are extremely basic versions of the figures. And as you can see here, Gorm comes with a little Bogue staff over here with some pretty nice looking details, not gonna lie. And when it comes to the figures, I'm pretty sure they were divided into 3 pieces in those little baggies and such. But the cool thing about this is, even though these don't match the pieces on the figures, they are actually compatible with them. Let's just take Gorm's standard head off and give him McDonald's Gorm head. And as you can see, it fits. It still articulates. You're not going to get a bend forward or back like the other ones, but hey, if you like the all-black Gorm head, there you go. You can give it to him if you really wanted to. And I do think that means yep, there you go. So that was one thing that I thought was really cool about the McDonald's toys, is that they could be integrated into the line in and of themselves with moving and working pieces. So obviously we get a spin at the head with this guy, get a spin at the arms, and we get a spin at the waist. All you're going to get out of the McDonald's figures are swivels. And, you know, cool little Bogue staff. Yeah. So, spin at the head, nice little clicky joint. Can look back, not far at all before the head comes out, but can look down pretty far. Arms can move out and in pretty far, all the way around. Bend at the elbow, swivel at the elbow as well, and a swivel at the wrist. And yes, the same could be done with the grasping hand. It's the exact same piece at the bicep as the other arm. The grasping hand piece can swivel at the elbow and bend in and out as well. I don't know if I'd really consider this part of articulation, but this can move up, down, and all around. It will fall out though, because it's just like the McDonald's toy. It's not really a clicky joint. However, the legs can move out pretty far. Kind of looks like a spinny top. Legs can go all the way around, essentially, so they can kick pretty high and kick back pretty far. Nice bend at the knee, like so. And like Nick and Allegra, we are going to get a ball joint at the ankle over here. And also like Nick and Allegra, the pivot is going to be a little constrictive just because of Gorm's little cuffs over here, but still a lot more movable than Nick and Allegra, I'd say. And for the most part, Deluxe Gorm is going to be exactly the same, except when it comes to his Bogue launcher, you will get a swivel at the bicep, as well as a fully working joint at the shoulder up here. There's not going to be a bend at the elbow, obviously, because they had to fit a mechanism in there in order to shoot things. And once you get the Bogue missile in there, since it's just like a little loop held on to this piece over here, you can actually rotate this. So if you wanted to pose him with the Bogue face like upwards or sideways or downwards or whatever, you could absolutely do that. And that's pretty much it for articulation. So Deluxe Gorm and Standard Gorm are going to get solid stars in terms of articulation, and this horrendous little goblin will get a solid star in terms of articulation as well. Now, as I stated in the original video, the main gimmick to these sets were that they had interchangeable parts that could mix and match with every set under the Galidor moniker. So I guess I'll just demonstrate that now. Now, it's not that wild and crazy, but I essentially just disassembled the standard Gorm, and I just gave Deluxe Gorm his extra bicep joint so he could have the launcher on his back, something similar to that of a Predator, and then, you know, just gave him the grasping hand. But now I guess we can get a little bit weirder with it. And there we have it. When it comes to combining the two sets together, this is the best I could do. Have him looking one way with the grasping hand, the other way with the bow launcher. And now we can move on to size comparisons. And if anybody would like to see me actually integrate the other sets for the next episode, please let me know. I'm trying to make this video a little bit less longer and a little bit more accessible to a general public. So if you want to see a bit of a longer episode next time, despite the fact that I'm talking about 3 figures and not 2, please let me know. Gorm is an honest smasher of a main villain. From first sight, even as a kid, I thought this dude was perfect. And then seeing him in the show slightly thereafter, even more so. While I'm not sure if the deluxe version getup ever showed up in the show, it's still an awesome look. You know, I don't want to compare him to Darth Vader because that's like comparing Thanos to Darth Vader. It's just never going to happen. But I can really associate seeing and hearing Gorm for the first time as a kid to seeing and hearing Darth Vader for the first time. It was an epic, epic moment. I am still having such a hard time seeing this line for the massive failure that it was. I mean, yeah, it was a failure, but I really don't see these sets as this horrible stain on Lego's career. It's like, yeah, they didn't sell well, but they're still really fun to mess around with. And I'm 30. I got these back in 2002. I don't even remember how old I was back in 2002, but I have just as fun messing around with them today as I did when I was a kid. So if these sets intrigue you to any sense and you see them on eBay somewhere or at a garage sale or something for a good enough price, definitely pick them up. I mean, I'm having fun with this. I really am. I know this whole design that I put together isn't exactly the most creative thing that I've done, but still, I have fun with these, and I recently discovered that all 26 episodes of Galidor are right here on YouTube in a playlist. So before the next review comes out, I'm going to try and have at least half of those videos watched, so I have a little bit more knowledge of the Galidor world. Anyway, I have been ShinRobjira. Hope you enjoyed this review. The series still isn't going to be bi-weekly, but I am absolutely going to try and finish my reviews of this series off by the end of the year. Put it this way, this will be done way before Shamathon. See you all next time, everybody. Peace.